Welcome to Small Business University Online, powered by Small Business Expo, America's largest business trade show and conference for small business owners. Please be sure to check out our complete webinar schedule and all on-demand recordings from previous webinars on smallbusinessuniversity.online. All of our webinars are full of incredible information to help you grow your business. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available within 24 hours on smallbusinessuniversity.online. In order to ensure optimal sound and video quality during this presentation, please make sure you are logged in using the latest version of Google Chrome. If you encounter any technical issues during the webinar, we suggest that you log out and log back in to reset your system. And now, I'm very excited to introduce today's webinar. Please take it away.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you in the Small Business University. I actually did this presentation live at one of their events in Philadelphia, and I was like, I really want to come back and present it. So I'm happy that we could do that today. I will say I'm going to answer any chat questions at the end, but feel free at any time during this presentation to go ahead and place your questions in the chat. If for some reason I don't get to them all, I will definitely make sure to reach out to you at a later date to respond. So I will try to get to every question I possibly can, but just bear with me to the end. All right, a little bit about myself, because I always want people to know. Oh, you said, let's see, we'll have time. Yes, we'll have time for Q&A at the end. I'm looking at the chat. But before I get started, I always like people to know who I am so that you understand why I do things the way I do and why I recommend the types of tips and advice that I do. So I'm Corey Fonville Foster. I have been a speaker, trainer. I'm also a certified business coach, and I'm the CEO of iRock Marketable Business Solutions. I've had this business for about 6 years, and I had a business prior to that. But I'm kind of jumping the gun. Let's talk about how I actually became an entrepreneur for a moment. So I like to say that I got into entrepreneurship in a very non-traditional way. In my mind, a lot of people get into entrepreneurship because maybe they have family members who are entrepreneurs, they have business degrees, they were in corporate America and got a chance to launch their own companies, kind of branching off of what they were already doing. That was not the case for me. I actually was in the medical field in my young adult years, absolutely loved it, and knew that I wanted to continue to climb that kind of corporate ladder within the medical field. I had gone to school, I got my CNA, I did PCA work, I then became a medical assistant, and I was in school to become a registered nurse, and I already knew in the back of my mind that I would then go on to become a nurse practitioner. So that was my trajectory. That's what I knew in my heart that I wanted to do. I wanted to help people, and that's how I was going to accomplish that. Now, I had that plan, but life had other choices and things for me. So in the midst of being a full-time entrepreneur, a full-time employee, and also being a mom to a very young son and being in a really committed relationship, and also going to school, right? I was 3 credits shy of my degree as a registered nurse. I actually had a flare-up of a rare eye condition. I have something called uveitis, and the doctors have been doing their best job of keeping my vision and being able to keep my condition at bay since high school. And unfortunately, again, 3 credits shy of getting to that goal of being a registered nurse, I had a huge flare-up, and the doctor sat me down and they said, Corey, we've done all we can do. We've done it all. There are no more options. Unfortunately, you're going to go blind. We really suggest that you go ahead and quit working, drop out of school, go home, and start applying for disability because this is your new life. And when I tell this story, I always wish that there was a moment where I could be like, and I told them, whatever, I'm going to do this, and that's not going to be my story. But that's not how it happened. I knew they had done all they could do, right? I knew that we had tried it all, and that was it. And so I did. I resolved to this thought process of that was the end for me. I was going to go blind. I was going to go home. And essentially, in my mind, life was going to stop. Thankfully, I didn't stay in that place for too long. About 6 months later, I decided, you know what? I can't live like this. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes you hit rock bottom and it's like, nah, can't stay here for too long. This isn't comfortable. I don't like it here. And so I then started my very first, we're going to call it a business, but I'm going to put quotes around it. I decided to start a business. But what I did was I started making products, right? I made bath bombs and soaps and candles. I'm all about helping people. And I said, well, how can I still help people? Well, I know for me, a nice bubble bath, some me time, some TLC, that will make me feel better. And so I made products that would make women especially feel better. And from that business, learning and talking to other vendors and entrepreneurs led me into what I do now, which is really focused on supporting new and up and coming entrepreneurs, especially women coaches and consultants, to be able to affordably start and run their businesses. I call it doing business on a shoestring budget. I'll talk more about my story a little bit later, but hopefully you get an idea of kind of where I'm coming from, because I'm going to talk a lot to you today about implementing, right? Taking action now and using affordable strategies. So let's get started. Today we're going to go through the Blindside Framework. Now we got about 40 minutes or so, about 45 minutes. So we're going to move fast. But just like the pre-start video said, you'll have access to the replay. If you want to take screenshots, feel free. If you want to just go back and dive in again, slow down, pause the video, that's totally acceptable. But I'm going to give you the meat of this, and hopefully, like I said, we'll have some time to ask some questions as well. Let's get into it. So the B. First, I want you to begin with clarity. I get that this isn't the sexy part of business. People don't like doing this step. I find that a lot of people have the idea that, one, they want to sell to everybody, or two, they're thinking, okay, well, I don't want to niche down so much that I, hinder me from making more money than that's out there. But I want you to think for a second. Think about, maybe by now you probably have at least looked at your phone once, right? You've looked at Facebook or Instagram, LinkedIn, what have you. Think about all the things that have gone through the news feed. Probably hundreds to thousands of things you have been just scrolling past. Well, you don't want that to be your content, right, on social media. You don't want to think about the emails that people say, delete, delete, delete. You don't want that to be the case. Well, oftentimes what happens is if you're scrolling through any type of content, if it doesn't resonate with you, if you're not interested or excited about it, you're going to pass it by. So it's really important in the business sense that you think, okay, well, how do I connect with that audience? How do I make them stop? Well, you do that by talking to them, right? Not everybody, but them. So I want you, when you start thinking about marketing, think about selling to one person, right? Who is your favorite VIP client that you want to work with the most? And I don't want you to say this group of people. I want you to have it down to one person. My client avatar's name is Dakota. And I know everything there is to know about Dakota. I know her age. I know where she shops. I know what keeps her up at night. I know everything. And anytime I make a product, a service, a post, an email, I think about her, because as she's scrolling through her newsfeed, I know that she will stop on my content because I'm talking to her. So I want you to take some time, whether you've done this step or not, once upon a time in your business. I want you to say, do I know my client avatar specifically? Does that person have a name? What do they look like? Where do they shop? What do they think about? What are they struggling with? Right? I want you to know that person like you know yourself and give it a name. Right? And then I want you to say, okay, based on what I know about that individual, what product or service do they want? Do they need? Do they crave from me? Oftentimes we're making things for people that they didn't ask for. They don't even want from us. We have to make sure not only do we identify who they are and what their needs are, but then have a solution for their problem. And then we're going to take it even one step further. Now that we know who they are, we know what they need from us. We need to say, now, why would they shop with us? Because I'm sure that there's somebody out there who does something at least similar. So why are they going to pick me over them? That's your unique selling point or your unique selling proposition. So this step has 3 mini steps. Client avatar, get it down to that one person. Find that product or service that supports their needs, right? Not a want, but a need, something they're craving a solution for. And then 3, Find a way to separate yourself in the market so that they are going to come to you over anybody else. Next, we're going to move on to the L, and that's leveraging a SWOT. If you're from corporate America, then you've probably heard of a SWOT before. A lot of times they do it in big companies. But guess what, guys? You're a business owner. You're a company as well. And SWOTs are going to be really great for you, especially if you do them from year to year to see your individual and your business growth. So let's break down the SWOT for a moment. The S in SWOT stands for strengths. What are you already a rock star at? That could be maybe you're great at sending emails. Maybe you're great at picking up the phone and calling people. That is not my superpower. I'm a millennial. I'm like, oh, can I send a text? Can I send an email? What can I do to not have to call? But maybe that's something you're like, I can do that in my sleep. That's a strength. I want you to write down a list. And this is something you can implement in the next 48 hours. Write down a list of all the strengths that you have and that your business has right now. This is going to be your zone of genius, right? Next is your weaknesses. This is also internal, but these are things where you have to be honest. You could use some work, right? The business could use some work. Maybe you're not super great at automation. Maybe you're not super great about being consistent on social media. Maybe you're not super great with presenting. Write this list out, but then we have to go even further. Not only have this list, but create a plan that turns those weaknesses into strengths, right? Because this is how we set ourselves apart. I don't want you just hearing this presentation and saying, oh, this sounds cool. I want you to implement. So write down those weaknesses, then create a plan to say, how do I turn these weaknesses into strengths? Because when 12 months goes by, right, that year goes by, I want you to see that you now move those weaknesses into that strengths column. And now you have time to tackle some new weaknesses that you may discover. Next is the O. O stands for opportunity. I love this category because there's always room to optimize new opportunities. Maybe you can speak more about your business. Maybe you can write a book. Maybe you can get on someone else's platform like a podcast or get featured in a magazine, or there are collaboration opportunities that you're not currently tapping into. Write down all the opportunities that you can think about right now that you would love to utilize for the best of your business, and then come up with a plan to actually do those things. Yes, you may say in the back of my mind, oh yeah, I definitely want to get more speaking gigs so I can talk about my business and promote myself as an expert. Well, that's great. But if you don't have a plan to accomplish that goal, it's very unlikely that you're going to achieve it. So just like with anything in the SWOT, make that list and then create a plan to actually get things done. Last but not least is the T, and that stands for threats. Now, when I do this with clients, I hear the same thing. Every time we get to this point, they're like, well, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's, going to happen in the future. True, right? A lot of us could have never imagined like 2020 when the COVID pandemic happened. I get that. But believe it or not, there are a lot of things that we can kind of see on the horizon, right? You can see there's some shifts in social media that you may need to kind of take stock of because they may affect how you market your business. There may be some financial issues that are going to come up within your business because you're trying to scale that you can kind of predict, that's probably going to be an issue. You may need some staff. The fact that you have none is probably a threat to the success of your business. And the list goes on and on. There may be a new player on the scene in your industry that's shaking things up and changing how business is being done. All of those are potential threats. And again, just like with all the other categories, don't just write them down. Come up with a plan. Your threats should not stop your business. You should have plans to overcome them or at least lessen their effect on your business success. And I know we're moving fast, but again, if you have questions along the way, feel free to put those in the chat. I implement a business plan. Now, I'm not going to ask you to put this answer in the chat, but I'm just going to ask the question. 1, how many of you have a business plan currently? Okay, just asking. No shade if you don't have one. But then the second question may ruffle some feathers. How many of you have a business plan, but you put it in a drawer, you tucked it on a shelf, you don't utilize it in your day-to-day business? That's the one that usually hurts most people because they're like, yeah, I did make it back in the day, right? When you were setting up your business, you're like, oh, I'm an LLC and, this is my business structure and this is my business plan. And then you never looked at it again. I want you guys to stop doing that. That's why I said implement a business plan. A business plan is a living, breathing document. It is the anchor of your business. And when you don't utilize it like that, then you are really hurting the progress that your business is having. Oftentimes, as business owners, especially business owners who have very small businesses, very limited staff, you're making a lot of decisions every single day. You're like, should I do this? Should I do that? And you're stressed out about this. Well, wouldn't it be nice if you had a document that said, hey, this is your budget, these are your products, this is your target audience, this is what you're going to invest in, this is what you're not going to invest in, this is where your time's going to go. Wouldn't it be nice? Well, guess what? That's a business plan. And I'm not going to read you what's on the slide, but I always recommend at least these basic pieces to a basic business plan. Now, if you're looking for investors, if you're looking for grants, you may have to have a little bit more of a comprehensive business plan. But for our purposes, at least these 8 pieces. And I'll even give you an additional tip that you want to do the number 1 step last. It's put first because when you're talking to your team or you're sharing it with someone else, it's nice to have a summary to start, but it is harder to write if you try to start with the summary. Do all the other steps, come back, write that summary. It just makes it a little bit easier to get it done. So now another implementation step for you in the next 7 days. Let's go ahead and not only pull that business plan out of your drawers, pull it off that shelf, dust it off, and update it if you need to, so that you can be better prepared as you make business decisions. And don't be afraid to edit it, guys. Things happen. Things that you may have never thought of, opportunities you may never have thought of happen. Don't be afraid to go in and update it as needed. But the goal is it should be that anchor that guides your business decisions moving forward. And I see, like you said, I'm in the process of the 3rd revision. Yes, definitely. I love that. Keep revising that business plan. All right. N stands for network effectively. Now, how many of you are introverts? The older I get, I feel like the more introverted I get. I used to be out here and not worry about what people said, and I would just go out and make friends everywhere. But now I'm like, can I stay home? Can I stay in my bubble? So if that's you, I get it. But as a business owner, we have to be able to network effectively. And networking isn't just chatting, right? Networking has to be strategic. Take, for instance, when I go to an event, nowadays, when you even register, there's usually like a Facebook group that they invite you to prior to the event even happening, or some type of platform where you can already make connections. I go through, if I see people I might want to connect with, I'll say, hey, would love to connect with you at this event. I try to chat with them, add them as friends on social media. I try to make any type of introductions I can before I even get there. Once I'm at the event, I already have a number in my mind of how many people I want to connect to. And then out of those people, how many people I want to get on a call with. And out of those people, how many people I want to sell to. Y'all, if y'all ain't thinking like that, you're missing out. You're leaving money on the table, right? Even if you're networking virtually right now, people who are commenting and stuff, I'd be like, hey, I'm working on my business plan too. What type of business do you have? Like, I would be talking back and forth, trying to network. Because networking is going to be so important. A lot of your net worth is really tied to your network. And a lot of people aren't using that. I actually I'll do a quick story real fast. When I started this iteration of my business, right, working with coaching and working with this new clientele, I didn't have a website. I didn't have social media. I had nothing. But what I had was people who already knew me, right? They already knew me at least a little bit. And I sent them Facebook messages. And I said, hey, it's Corey here. I'm going to be a virtual assistant. That's the title I gave myself. And I said, if you or anyone you know might need my services, send them my way. And guys, just from that message alone, no social proof, I didn't exist anywhere. If you Google me, I doubt you would see much. I got 3 clients, 3 paid clients. And guys, I didn't even know at the time how I was going to serve them. We got on calls. I think I had the free version of Zoom. So that was 40 minutes or less. I got in, got out. I said, I'll help you. And I think I sent them my PayPal name and they threw me some money. but it works, right? Now it's definitely a more polished system, but networking has always been a foundational piece of my marketing strategy. And if you're not leveraging networking now, pulling from even organizations that you had a brief encounter with all the way back to high school, again, you're leaving money on the table. So make a list, another implementation tip. Make a list of all the companies, people that already have had a taste of you, know a little bit about you, even if they don't know about your company, what you do, and reach out to them. Let them know what you do. Let them know how they can support you. Say, hey, can you send this to 3 people you may know that could benefit from my services? Because that is money that is ready for you to cash in right now. And it's completely free to utilize. Next, develop an organic marketing strategy. People like to push back on organic marketing a lot. They're like, oh my God, it's so slow. I get it. But again, if I don't have the money to pay for ads, then what would you like me to do? Close up shop? I think not. So, yes, it may not be the fastest mode of transport for your business. I'm very transparent in that. But for those of you who are doing business on that shoestring budget, you're just trying to get enough clients and profit in that you can then spend some money, right? Have a little budget for marketing and sales and things like that, lead gen. This is going to be a great piece for you to start implementing or pushing or optimizing in your business, right? So one, let's look. Do you email people? I didn't ask if you had an email list. Are you emailing people? Because lots of people have email lists. They come to me, I got an email list of 5,000, 10,000. I'm like, yay. How many emails do you send a week? And they're like, well, I sent one last month. So how are we caring that you have a 10,000 person email list if they're not checking for you? They're not looking for your emails. They're not engaging with your emails. Emails are a great way to get people in. Sometimes people just aren't ready to do business with you today. I have so many people who say, yeah, I've been on your email list for a minute. I wasn't ready then, but now I am. And I just, hit the link at the bottom and now I'm on a call with you. It's a long game, but it's a game that works. Same with social media. People will say, oh, yeah, I saw you presenting a live on this day and back here and, a month ago or what have you. And then they finally decided to pull the trigger and get on a call with me. But guess what happens, guys? If we're not actually posting consistently, if we're not emailing consistently, if we're not updating that website, people aren't going to know that we're still doing business. They're not going to know how they can connect and engage with us. They're not going to be seeing the value. And really, most of the organic marketing you're doing is centered around value. A lot of people want to just sell. That doesn't work. Nobody wants to be sold to all the time. I recommend about 80% of what you put out needs to just be value. Here, I want to help you. This is how I help you. Did you know about this resource? Did you hear about this? I want to give so much value that they're stuffed with all the value I'm giving to them, because what happens is they get a win from the free stuff. They're like, oh my God, this was some great information. And then they're like, hey, if they're giving this away for free, I wonder what I can get if I pay them. And then they're ripe and ready to be like, hey, here, take my money. And that's what we want. But that doesn't happen if we're not consistently engaging with them on our platforms. Something that is affordable, but maybe not free, depending on your skill set, is having somebody come in and do some SEO, that's search engine optimization. I think it's a worthy investment. Usually you can get somebody to do it for under $100 on a lot of platforms, like Upwork or Fiverr, your friend who's good at SEO, but have them go in and optimize your website, landing pages, YouTube, things like that, so that you have a lot more organic traffic. You can even get them to put in some pixels. We're not going to go super detailed, but that will help also you see where people are landing, and also allow for people, once they've engaged, to continue to get content that you're putting out that is in that same realm. Like I said, we're not going to get too deep in that, but it works and it's free or very low cost. All right, let's create a simple sales funnel. The word funnel gives people hives, I feel, sometimes, because people have overcomplicated it over the years. Even me, when I first started hearing the word funnel, I was like, that sounds super, super complicated. Let's demystify this a bit. Think of it this way. How do people go from ever knowing about your company, like never knowing about your company, to knowing about it all the way to being a paid client? How do they do that? What does it look like? For me, I literally have taken a whiteboard, me and my assistant looked at it, and I said, okay, if this is how, they're in the universe somewhere. They come in contact with our brand, say through a lead magnet, like a webinar, because you're on a webinar right now. And this is how you get to know me. So, hey, but yeah, say we have a webinar. How do we get from webinar to paid client? And we draw it out and we say, best case scenario, this is what will happen, right? With all the steps. Now, best case scenario doesn't always happen. So then we say, okay, well, what if they say no at this step? What if they don't go any further at this step? And then we make sure that we basically create like a safety net so that we don't lose the lead. I call it not dropping the lead. So we put something in place to still keep them connected to us in some way, even if they haven't said yes to the offer or the main offer we want. That could be offering them a cheaper product. That could be offering them something for free. That could be adding them to our email list, adding them to our community. That could be just reaching back out to follow up, but we don't want to drop that lead because it's hard to find new people, guys. It's not easy to find perfect clients everywhere. So once we get them in our sphere, we want to keep them. So again, next implementation tip, we'll give you 30 days, create a sales funnel. Again, how do they know that you exist, all the way to how do you get them to be a paid client? And then if they say no at any step along that way, how do you keep them connected to you in your company? Simple enough. I hope that was simple enough. Because I'm telling you, people are always like, funnel. But we don't have to make things difficult for ourselves. All right, integrate community building. A moment ago, I mentioned this idea of, we have a community. We actually have 2 free communities and 1 paid community when my hands aren't working. 2 free, 1 paid community. We have 1 free community that really focuses on a new and up and coming entrepreneur, somebody who has a passion that they're trying to monetize. And then our 2nd free community has more people who've been moving and shaking in their businesses, but really struggle with accountability and implementation, and they're trying to get to 6 figures. We have these communities not just because I like to create communities, but communities are a great place to warm leads. Like I said, everybody's not going to be ready to pull the trigger and do business with you right now. But if we keep them in the family, I call it the IROC family, y'all. But if we keep them in the family, they're more likely to, 1, see others who have done business with you, which shows your credibility. Something else I post in our communities if I'm doing other events. So like today, I did a live saying, hey, I'm going to be here doing this webinar. So now they know that other companies are allowing me to come in on their platforms and give value, right? Again, increasing my credibility. If I'm on a podcast, if I'm featured in a magazine, I share that. But most importantly, right, 80% of the time, I'm in there giving them massive value. I go live in that group. I give them resources in the group. And then I also, to give them like a little cherry on top, ask them to share, right? It's not just about me. I tell them, hey, what you guys got going on? What are some of your wins? What are some of your challenges? Let's support one another. And this creates a community of know, like, and trust, right? That's what we've been trying to put together, that know, like, and trust. And so now people are like, oh, I know who Corey is. I know this brand, IROC, right? I like her. I like what she's doing. I like the people she's working with. I like this community. I trust it. She's over here, there, and everywhere doing business. I'm going to go ahead and book a call. And now that cold lead that never knew about you has been warmed up organically and is ready to do business with you. So never discredit or undermine the idea of building a community. That community doesn't have to be in a particular platform. You can do Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Slack, Thinkific, Kajabi, Teachable, whatever, wherever platform that you like, you could have it there. But just again, make sure about 80% of it's just value. Make sure you're showing up consistently and that you're also encouraging them to be an active participant within the community, because if everyone's participating, then everyone is going to be able to benefit from the resources they're able to share. All right, D, drive conversions. I think we got time for me to tell a little story here. So I was working with a young lady who was living in the UK, and she said, I feel like I'm doing all the things. I said, okay, tell me some things you're doing. And she broke down, she was doing the emails, she was doing the social media, she had a great website. She was showing up at events, she was doing virtual things, she was getting featured, all the stuff. She said she was having really good conversations, right, on her sales calls, but for some reason she wasn't converting. So she said, can you come in and kind of just do like a little audit and see why I'm not converting sales? And so I went through, and she was right. She was doing all the things. Right? All the things. And then I realized there was one thing she wasn't doing. And I wonder if you guys can figure out what she wasn't doing. That one thing was she wasn't asking them to buy anything. Never. There was never like, hey, use this link to buy. Here you go. Even on the sales call, they would be excited to work with her. Like, yes, I would love to work with you. She's like, great. Thank you for this call. Click up. I was like, no. I said, you got to ask. And she said, I hate being salesy. I feel like if people want to work with me, they'll work with me. I'm like, but how? How, Sway? Like, how do they get to work with you? And I had to tell her to shift her mindset. And some of us had to do that because sales feels, sleazy sometimes. But when you think of selling a service, it really changes the dynamic in how you interact with it. Think about this. I know for me, I only work with people that want to help folk. And I'm sure if you're here, you want to help people too in whatever way is your zone of genius. And I always tell my clients, like, how dare you not help them? And they're like, what? What do you mean? I mean, how dare you not help them? If you never tell them how they can do business with you so that they can get your book, they can get your course, they can get your coaching, they can get your product, whatever it is, you're not helping them because they have a problem that you can solve and you're keeping that from them. Right? Doesn't that change how it feels? It's not, hey, I got this crappy car, right? I'm at the used, car lot, and I'm like, hey, let me sell you this dud, right? No, we have an amazing product or service that can solve the problem that they are struggling with right now, and we don't want to sell it to them. How dare you? Right? How dare you? So it really shifted how she thought. And from then on, she went on to say, you know what? I would love to do business with you. I think I can help you. Here's how. Let me send over a proposal. Let me go and send you that invoice and we can get started right now. And that quickly shifted her conversion rate. So some of you may be sitting here thinking, I'm doing all the things. But what you're not doing is asking for that sale, that CTA, that call to action. How can they do business with you right now? Right? And don't be afraid to highlight others who've done business with you. Make your job a little easier. Say, hey, don't believe me? Check out these folks. They've already done business with me. They were where you were, and now they're here. They're where you want to be. Right? That's how we can really drive conversions. And as you do your day-to-day activities, also think about that conversion. Are you doing activities every single day that are going towards conversion? Or are you just doing things to say you're doing things? I know I've talked to people who say, well, I've been working on my business, and they've been working on one website or one landing page for 30 days. That's not making you any money. That's not, we got to be honest sometimes. That's not making you no money. Focus on the things that are going to be conversions for you, especially until you have the funds to have a team where you can focus on the fun stuff and other people can focus on the conversions. All right, E, this is probably one of the most important steps, right? And get your questions ready because we're almost done. E is for evaluate and use analytics. A lot of times, and I get why we do it, but we gotta stop. We really do business based on our emotions. We're like, oh, I really feel that people would like this product, or I really feel like if I just go live every day that people will flock to me, right? That idea of if I build it they will come, right? I feel this way. Well, feeling is cool, but what is the data saying? What is the data saying? Especially for you guys who have been in business for at least a little while, 6 months at least, or a year at least. If you've been in business that long, you got some data to say some of these things are working, some of these things we need to stop playing with. It's really important to look at those metrics and say, okay, I built this website, nobody comes. Well, then we need to look at some SEO. I created this webinar and people don't watch to the end. Then maybe we need to edit it. I send these emails, but nobody opens it. Well, maybe we need to look at that subject line, right? Instead of going and just scrapping things here and there or focusing on stuff because it feels great, look at the data. Look at your open rate, your click rate for your emails. Look at your analytics of when people are engaging with you on social media and what they're engaging in. Look at your conversion rates. What products are people really buying, and are you marketing more of that, or are you focusing on a passion project you made just because you like it? Right? This is where we have to stop thinking as like a hobby versus a business. If it's a business, we got to follow what the people are really wanting. And we have to put sometimes our feelings, our emotions to the side and say, well, this is what the data is showing us. And it's not always fun to do, but the conversions are fun, right? Helping people is fun. And we can't continue to do that if we continue to act just out of emotions alone. So if nothing else, if you don't take anything else out of this presentation, I want you to look at the data that you have about your business and start utilizing that as you make decisions moving forward. Fair enough? All right. So I know we talked in general today about business and the things that you can implement and the things that you should look into. But something that my company does that I think sets us apart, right? One of our unique selling points is that we offer free mini brand audits. It's about 30 minutes or so long, so it won't take up a lot of your time, but it allows us to give you a quick audit of your business. And not in the traditional sense, because I've had those before where somebody comes in, they kind of look at everything and they send you like a write-up or a spreadsheet. It's like, okay, what do these numbers mean? We don't do that. We actually look at your business and say, based on what a prospective client would do, right? Like what they would see. This is how we think you can improve your conversions based on what you already have. We're not going to sell you a thing. It's not a sales call. It's literally an audit where we say, hey, if we were your potential client, because you're going to tell us who that potential client is, right? Your avatar, your dream customer. If I was that person, this is what my journey with your company would look like. And this is the reasons why I would say no. Let's fix that. And so we offer this for free. I would say free while spaces last, because if a lot of you are signing up at once, you may have to come back if the schedule gets full. But this is totally free. Feel free to take a picture of this slide. You can use the link. You can scan the QR code, and I will put this slide back up in a moment for you. But this is available to you, where we can actually talk about the specifics of your brand. Last but not least, if you would like to connect with me, I would like to keep chatting with you guys and seeing what your business is doing. I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram. Feel free to follow us there. I Rock MBS on Facebook, or I Rock _ MBS on Instagram, or you can scan that QR code. But let's look at the questions. Do we have any questions today? I'm going to look at the chat here. Let's see. Okay, Kathy. I tell my story so fast. Kathy said, so as a nurse, may I ask, did you lose your sight? So I am considered, if you're in the US, I'm considered legally blind. I found out recently that, like, in the UK, that's not a term they have. I'm legally blind. I do have some sight, but I will always have uveitis, which is an inflammatory condition. But I've learned how to navigate life with the condition. And truth be told, even if I was blind, I'm glad I'm not. I have now been able to expose myself to more people in the blind and visually impaired community, where I realize that that's not an end all, right? Even if you have some type of disability, I have a lot of neurodivergent clients, clients with severe chronic conditions, debilitating conditions. That doesn't mean that we can't progress, right? It doesn't matter our circumstances, our background, or ailments. There's always a way. Sometimes it just looks a little differently. Good question, Kathy. All right, so Carmen says information was great, but she really struggles with messaging. Messaging can be hard, but something that I really want you to focus on is going back to that client avatar, because when I do my messaging, I'm talking just to Dakota, right? My client avatar. And even if I write an email and say, Dear Dakota, I'm going to talk to her like we know each other. And that makes the messaging a lot more clear and easy, versus if I say I work with coaches and consultants, usually 35 to 55, who have a corporate background. It's like, it makes it too hard. What does Dakota want to hear from me? Like, hey, girl. Like, that's why my messages are usually a little more informal. Like, hey, what's up? Hope you're doing well. I know it's been hard dealing with them kids. It's summertime, and dealing with that man, whatever the case may be. That's something Dakota wants to hear. She doesn't want to hear, are you a coach or a consultant struggling to? Yeah, no. So definitely, once you nail that client avatar, you will be able to effectively message a lot more with ease. And don't harp on it too much. Some people are waiting for that messaging to be perfect. The biggest and baddest companies out there adjust their messaging. I was just at a conference not too long ago, and a multi-million-dollar company owner was like, yeah, we just changed our messaging because we want to go global, and this wording doesn't work globally. You're going to be changing it forever. Oh, Kathy, thank you. Say I'm a hero. All right, cool. All right, Michael. Yeah, we'll stay connected. I got it. I'll get a copy of the chat, so I'll make sure I follow you. Laura, where can I find a grant where I do not have to pay a lot and have access to the info? Are you talking about like grants for your business? If you're thinking about getting grants, one thing out, because I don't know your background and I don't specialize in grants, but one thing you want to do is make sure that you have, I think, like certificates. Like if you're a small business certificate, you're a women-owned business, veteran-owned business, that will open you up to a lot of specific grants. Also, put within your business plan that maybe you want to have the funds to hire a grant writer, because grants can definitely be gotten. I have a couple of clients who have nonprofits that get a lot of their income through sponsorship and grants. and it definitely, the money is out there, but neither one of them spend their time writing for those grants because nobody has that time, and that's not their zone of genius. Let's see. Cool. Oh, you can't find my Instagram, so it was IROC. It's IROC_MBS. Also, if you put my name in Google, all of that'll come up as well. So definitely. All right. Any other questions? I just want to make sure because we have about 5 minutes left. I want it to be done so that I could answer any questions. Thank you so much. Look, Layla is on it. Thanks. Shout outs to the Small Business University because y'all have made this such an easy. Okay, cool, Brittany. Y'all made this such an easy way to present. So, any other questions? Like I said, definitely take advantage of the mini brand audits because then we can kind of talk about the specifics of you, your brand, and your goals. So that we can move your business forward. But I'm not going to hold this up here. Oh, there's one more question. Let's see, Laura. Is there anyone who can help one pay for your registration, your LLC registration? Laura, if you're just getting started, some free resources is SCORE, SCORE. SCORE allows you to have mentors there. I think they're nationwide. They can help you with setting up your business. You can actually do a lot of that yourself. There's also some different companies for a fee, affordable wise, but for a fee, they'll help you with the startup process. But I would definitely say start with SCORE because then you'll know kind of where you should be, whether you should be LLC, S Corp, corporation, different things for tax purposes. Again, not my specialty, but I would start there. Also, what is it called? Small Business Administration or Association, SBA. They have information there too about how to set up your business and all that. So they also have really good business plan templates if any of you are interested in that. All right, I think those are all the questions. Hopefully I answered all those, but feel free to reach out if you have any more. Again, thank you to the amazing Small Business University team for allowing me to present here, and I will let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your day. See you in these social media streets. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for that informative presentation. We really enjoyed it. As a reminder, this webinar was recorded and will be available on demand within 24 hours on smallbusinessuniversity.online. Please remember to frequently check out our webinar schedule on smallbusinessuniversity.online for other great weekly business building webinars. Thank you all for joining us and have a great rest of your day.